Hello. So in this video, I would like to show you how to create an ArcGIS Pro project, add a folder connection, and then add the data that we downloaded to the map. So when you open up ArcGIS Pro, you'll have an interface that looks something similar to this. And so when we do so, we just want to create a new project. So we'll click on Map, and we open this up. So in GIS in general, it's very important that you pay attention to where you save your projects, where you save your shapefiles or feature classes, and where the exports or outputs go. So for this project, I suggest saving it to either your flash drive or your C drive of where we want that to go. So click on the folder here. My computer seems to be running slow. And I have the my working folder that I've been using, and so this will look different than yours, but save it to where you've been downloading the data to. And so I'm going to just save it to here, and then say OK. And then I have to give the project a name, and so I will do that. And notice that the name I gave it is in GIS, and you don't want to have spaces in project names, output names like feature classes or shapefiles or folders. You always want to have either something called camel hump, where you capitalize the first letter in each word, or here you have example, I have an underscore. So you want to do something like that. You don't want to use periods or any other kinds of characters and that. So I create the folder project, and then I say OK. And now we have ArcGIS Pro open. Notice that the name of the project here is up at the very top. And we have our contents page. This is where our map data is going to be. And then here's our catalog. And if we open up the folders, you'll notice that when you create a new project, it creates a geodatabase associated with that. You can also put your cursor over it, and it'll show you where that geodatabase is located. But you'll notice that we don't have the data that we downloaded anywhere. So we need to make something called a folder connection. So if we right-click on Folders, Add Folder Connection, and this is going to tell us where to get the data. So you're going to have to navigate to where you saved your data. Again, it's going to look different than this. And we can go here and open this up. And this is where I save the data. I just called it GIS data. So if I wanted to, I could have just access to this whole entire folder that has maybe everything that I'm interested in. Or maybe I'm interested in just having access to the data. And so if I wanted just the data, I would highlight that, say OK. Again, it seems like my computer's moving slow. So you now do notice here, we have this folder, GIS data. So if we open that up, now we can see these shape files here that are in green. We have our future land use from Meridian. We have the Meridian Transportation Center lines. We have the polygons of the water areas. We have the line features of the water areas, and we have the rails. And these are just some XML files that we don't have to worry about that are in there. So now let's go ahead and add this data to our project. So we can just click on that, drag it in, and there we have Meridian. And we can next do the transportation. And then we can do the area water and the linear water. And then we'll add the rails. So now we have all the data that's necessary for our project added there. So next thing what we want to do is make sure we save. ArcGIS Pro, it doesn't crash very often, but it can, and so you don't want to do a bunch of work and then have it crash and then lose that work. So I always just save, save, save. So that is how you kind of create a project, save the project, add a folder connection, and add the data. So the other thing I want to add is, you notice how when we added all our data, everything kind of lined up in geographic space just fine. And so you'll notice here, let's open up the future land use. This is the layer that I added first. And the reason why I did that is we go to Properties, and then we go to Source, Spatial Reference. Notice that the data has a projected coordinate system already. It uses NAD 83, transverse Mercator, the projection, and meridians and stuff. This is data on the coordinate system and the projection. This is the coordinate system, so we can close that. Same with the meridian transportation center line. Since it came from the same place, it's going to have the same projected coordinate system. It's going to have the same geographic coordinate system, NAD 83. But let's go to the census data now. So if we go to the census, we can pick any one. We can pick this, open this up, and we go to Source, Spatial Reference. Notice that the coordinate system is only NAD 83. So it has the coordinate system, but it does not have the projection of the transverse Mercator as the other layers. So we can go ahead and project that at a later time. But the thing with ArcGIS Pro is if you add a layer, let's close this real fast. If you add a layer that has a projection, like we did with the future land use, go to Properties. So this is the data frame properties, which is there. So if we go to coordinate systems, notice how it's using transverse Mercator. So the map properties will take on the coordinate system of the very first layer. So that's why I added the future land use first, because that's going to take on this layer, and then everything else will line up according to that.